Australia had bug issue, so humans imported a poisonous toad. The pitch was simple. The toad eats the bugs, the sugarcane survives, everyone goes home proud. Tiny problem. The bugs mostly stayed a problem, and the toads became one of the most famous oops animals in Australian history. Which is saying something because Australia has a lot of animals that look like they were designed during a storm. But this one was not some mysterious creature hiding in the bush. Humans brought it in on purpose, with confidence, and probably a clipboard nearby. The problem started in the sugarcane fields of Queensland. Picture tall green cane, hot air, wet soil, and farmers watching their crop get attacked from below. The enemy was not dramatic. No giant monster, no swarm of dragons, just beetle larvae chewing the roots of sugarcane like tiny underground criminals. And that mattered because if the roots get damaged, the crop suffers, farmers lose money, and officials start looking for solutions that sound smart. So the question became very simple. What eats beetles? A toad eats beetles. Great. Bring in the toad. Problem solved. And for about 2 seconds, it does sound logical. You have pest insects. You introduce an animal that eats insects. The animal patrols the fields like a warty security guard. The beetles disappear. The official report looks beautiful. Everyone claps quietly, in government handwriting. But nature heard the plan and said, "Cute. Now watch this." In 1935, cane toads were released in Queensland to help control beetles damaging sugarcane crops. The toads were not originally Australian. They came from the Americas, and the ones used in Australia were brought from Hawaii. At first, they were bred in an enclosure. Then thousands were released near Gordon Vale, close to Cairns. A little army of squat brown toads was now officially on the job. A sugarcane field. A serious human pointing at beetles, a toad blinking slowly. The human says, "Eat those." The toad says nothing, because it is a toad, and then hops away to eat whatever it feels like. That is where the plan starts wobbling, because the real world is not a menu. You cannot introduce an animal and hand it a job description. The cane toad did not arrive in Australia thinking, "I am here to protect the sugar industry." It arrived thinking whatever a toad thinks, which is probably mostly, "Can I fit that in my mouth?" And cane toads are not picky. They eat many kinds of small animals. Insects, frogs, small reptiles, small mammals, and even birds can be on the menu. So while humans wanted a beetle specialist, what they actually imported was more like a low, bumpy vacuum cleaner with legs. But that is not even the strangest part. The beetles they were supposed to control were not always in the easiest place for a fat, ground-hopping toad to reach. A lot of the damage came from larvae eating sugarcane roots underground. So the toads were brought in for a specific pest problem, and the pest problem basically answered, wrong floor. The toads did what living things do. They found food, found water, and bred fast, because cane toads do not reproduce like a cautious committee. A female cane toad can lay eggs in long, jelly-like strings, with tiny black dots lined up inside. Under good conditions, one clutch can contain thousands and thousands of eggs. A pond full of little black dots does not look scary at first. It looks like someone spilled pepper into jelly, but each dot is a future problem wearing a very small outfit. Now add the detail. Australia did not have the right natural controls waiting for them. No perfect predator army, no local rule book neatly teaching every animal. Do not bite the weird warty thing. And that rule mattered because cane toads are toxic. They produce poison from glands in their skin. So to a predator, the toad looks like food. A goanna sees a chunky snack. A snake sees dinner. A quoll sees a moving meatball. Then the predator bites the toad, and the meal bites back chemically. This is where the clean plan flips upside down. The toad was supposed to kill pests. Instead, animals that tried to kill the toad could die. The imported solution came with a warning label native predators could not read. So now the fields did not just have beetles. They had cane toads. The ponds had cane toads. Roads at night had cane toads sitting there like little poisonous speed bumps. And the toads kept spreading. From Queensland, they moved into other parts of Australia, including New South Wales, the Northern Territory, and Western Australia. That is a lot of hopping for an animal that looks like it should need a nap after crossing a driveway. And this is where the story becomes more than animal did animal thing. Because the real mistake was not that cane toads were evil. They were just very good at being cane toads. The mistake was that humans treated nature like a simple machine. Bug problem goes in. Toad solution goes in. Healthy crop comes out. Click. Done. But ecosystems are not vending machines. You do not press remove beetle and get perfect farming. You add one living thing, and that living thing starts touching everything around it. It eats things. It avoids things. It poisons things. It reproduces. It moves. It fails at the job you gave it, then succeeds wildly at a job nobody asked for. The plan was trying to solve one problem, but the system heard a different instruction. Welcome to Australia. There is food everywhere, not enough enemies, and plenty of room. Please expand. And the cane toads accepted that invitation very seriously. Some people did warn that this could go wrong. Even early on, there were concerns that a large, hardy, poisonous, omnivorous toad might become a pest itself, and that warning turned out to be painfully accurate. The toad did not fix the beetle problem the way people hoped, but it did create a new problem that was harder to put back in the box, mostly because the box was now the size of a continent. That is the backfire, not an explosion, not a dramatic battle. Just a quiet mismatch between what humans wanted and what the animal was actually likely to do. The toad was introduced as a tool, but living tools do not stay in the toolbox. They walk away, multiply, and sometimes become the thing everyone else now has to control. In normal human language, this is called biological control, using one living thing to control another. Sometimes it can work, but you are not adding a fence or a trap. You are adding a creature with hunger, movement, survival, and babies. A trap stays where you put it. A toad does not. And once the cane toads spread, controlling them became extremely difficult. Communities collect them. Scientists study ways to reduce their impact. Predator training has been explored in some places. There are mapping projects to track where the toads are. Oh no. But the broad picture is uncomfortable. Once a successful invasive species is established across huge areas, removing it completely can become almost impossible. That is a boring sentence hiding a wild image. One tiny human with a bucket, facing an entire horizon of toads, and the toads are not even angry. They are just there, blinking, existing, and winning by not understanding the meeting notes. Do not congratulate yourself for a plan just because it sounds neat in one sentence. Bring in toads to eat beetles is a neat sentence. But the real questions are these. Will they actually eat the right beetles? Can the local ecosystem control them? What else will they eat? What eats them? And what happens when the solution walks away from the target and starts living its own life? They looked at one link in the chain. Toad eats bug. But nature brought the whole chain. Bug in the roots. Toad on the ground. Predator eats toad. Predator gets poisoned. Toad lays eggs. Toad spreads west. Human opens another meeting, and the meeting does not help the lizard. That is the cane toad story. A simple plan, a confident solution, a living system that did not care about the plan, and a problem that came back larger, uglier, and poisonous. The toad did not become a disaster because it was mysterious. It became a disaster because it was normal. It ate, bred, spread, and defended itself. But the beetles were not the only part of the system. Once the toads arrived, the problem did not disappear. It changed shape, grew legs, became poisonous, and started hopping west. If you like this one, the next video is right here. Go watch that, and as always, let me know what you think down below. Thanks for watching, dummies. I'll see you in the next one.